I'm Sam Reichert with OBTVLive.com. I'm introducing to you today the first in a series of videos that recognize the important contributions of individuals in the past and their impact upon the city of Olive Branch. It's called our Hall of Fame program. Olive Branch has changed significantly since the Chickasaw Indians were the only inhabitants of this area way back in the early 1800s. The Pontotoc Treaty of 1832 opened the West, in this case present-day Mississippi, to European settlers who were coming to the New World by the thousands. Many people played a role in making Olive Branch the city we know today. In 2007, it occurred to me that we might just forget the contributions of these individuals if we didn't make an effort to recognize and preserve their memories. The Olive Branch Hall of Fame was born, and today we recognize individuals each year that helped make Olive Branch to become a great place to call home, to work, and to play. Without each of these individuals' contributions, Olive Branch would not have become known as a great place to live, one of America's best places to live, the fastest growing city in America. I am honored to be a part of this group, and I'm honored to narrate this presentation. We honor and salute these special individuals who are representatives of the hundreds of hard-working, dedicated citizens of Olive Branch whose lives have been and are a testament to all that is good in our community. They are our parents, our friends, our neighbors, whose efforts and accomplishments and dreams over their lifetimes have moved Olive Branch forward and built the foundation upon which our city stands today. We should build upon their legacy by looking back at their accomplishments and draw inspiration to be better than we think we can be, and strive to achieve things that they never could have imagined. And we need to dedicate ourselves to continue to make Olive Branch the shining city on a hill. Joining me for the Chapter 2 of the Olive Branch Hall of Fame series. These inductees were inducted for the year 2008, and these five are Frank J. Brown, Bill Crewthird Sr., Scotty C. Davidson, Billy Wood Kerr, and Benjamin Franklin Wesson. First inductee is Frank J. Brown. Frank J. Brown, Jr. was born in Nesbit, Mississippi on May 31, 1932 to Frank and Cornelius Brown. He had one older sister and one younger brother. He attended Bob White School. Not long after finishing school, he married Myrtle Maples, who would be his wife for the rest of his life. They had one daughter, Joyce, born in 1952, who would later in life become Joyce Salisbury and give them 4 grandchildren. Frank's first employment was with Bluff City Trucking Company out of Memphis. He later worked 5 years for Chattanooga Glass Company, and then in 1975 he came to work for the Olive Branch Police Department, where he would serve for 22 and a half years. Frank worked his way up and became the City of Olive Branch's first African-American chief of police. He served this city admirably through a time of major social and civil change in Olive Branch. His efforts and leadership were largely responsible for the city of Olive Branch avoiding the violence and upheavals that were so prevalent in many other communities across the nation during that era as we went through that time of great social change. His steady hand, sense of fairness, and his effort to always do the right thing earned him the nickname Chief to all who knew him. He retired from the Olive Branch Police Department in 1997. He then became a member of the DeSoto County Sheriff's Department, where he worked for 5 years before retiring for good in 2003. Frank Brown died on February 17, 2007 at the age of 75. Frank J. Brown, Jr. was the first African-American member of our community to be inducted into the Olive Branch Hall of Fame for the year 2008. Bill Crewthird Sr. was born in Banner, Mississippi on November 19, 1937 to Frank and Ola Crewthirds. He was the oldest of 4 brothers and 1 sister. His father moved the family to Memphis in 1941, where he found work in the war effort. He attended Guthrie Grade School and then Humes High School, graduating in 1955. He served 4 years in California as a cartographical draftsman in the U.S. Air Force before returning to Memphis in 1959 and going to work for Zeno Yates Architects. In 1961, he was employed by Holiday Inns in their food service engineering department. Bill saw the need for an interior design department, so on his own he became an interior designer and created one for them. He pioneered and developed the system for mass-producing complex interior design packages and perfected the technology to engineer and prefabricate the package in Olive Branch and ship it to Holiday Inn hotels all over the world. It can arguably be said that he designed and furnished the interiors of more hotels than anyone in the world. When he left Holiday Inns in 1979, after 19 years, he was head of an interior design department of 32 interior designers. Bill played amateur football in Memphis for 30 years from 1966 to 1996, retiring at the age of 59. He was a quarterback and coach of a House of Crew-Thirds team that won 4 city championships in the 1970s and never had a losing season. He founded the Memphis Amateur Football Association in 1983, and he served as its president for 12 years. In 1999, he was inducted into the Memphis Amateur Sports Hall of Fame. While still working at Holiday Inns in 1964, Bill and his 2 brothers founded Specialties Incorporated, a wall accessory manufacturing company. In 1970, they started House of Crew-Thirds Incorporated, a millwork company. In 1971, they moved both operations from Memphis to Caroma Street in Olive Branch. In 1979, they founded Unicorn International at the same location. Unicorn became one of the nation's largest hospitality furnishings, design, and engineering companies in the 1980s. Bill was married to Melvia Nelson in 1966. In 1983, they, with sons Bill Jr., Barry, and Artie, purchased the old McCargo house on Goodman Road and moved to Olive Branch. In 1985, Bill became aware that a group out of Nashville was looking for a site in Hernando to build Parkwood Hospital. As a private citizen, he arranged a meeting with them and convinced them to build the hospital in Olive Branch instead of Hernando. In 1992, Bill became a community activist and successfully led the efforts that prevented the demolition of the old Olive Branch downtown business district as the site for new City Hall. He was twice selected as one of the top 100 outstanding people in DeSoto County. He ran unsuccessfully for mayor of Olive Branch in 1993. He has served as president of the Chamber of Commerce, president of the Housing Authority, chairman of the City Architectural Design Review Board, charter member of the Arts Council, the Humane Society, and the Old Town Association. He was the first president of the Old Town Association and served 7 years as its Old Town director, during which time, under his direction, Old Town reached its zenith, becoming the antique, gift, and collectibles center of the Mid-South and the cultural center of the city of Olive Branch. In 2005, because of the politics involved, he resigned and was employed by the City of Olive Branch as Community Relations and Tourism Director. He was instrumental in the design and furnishing of the new City Hall and for the interior planning of the new courthouse and police station. He designed and engineered the Veterans Monument at City Hall along with the Veterans Book of Honor program. He designed and engineered the city's monumental entry signs, the first of which was constructed on Germantown Road. He was the developer and curator of the Olive Branch Museum at City Hall. He authored many publications for the city, including a book on the history of Olive Branch entitled This is Olive Branch. He published From the Roost, the biannual city newspaper, and was a party to the creation of the Olive Branch Hall of Fame. Bill Crew-Third Sr. was inducted into the Olive Branch Hall of Fame for the year 2008. Scotty Roberts Cobb was born in Oxford, Mississippi, on December 7, 1929, the youngest of 2 daughters. She attended Oxford Elementary and University High School in Oxford, where she was secretary of her senior class. Scotty grew up in the retail business, working in her father's store, Cobb's Dry Goods, from the early age of 10. She attended Stevens College in Columbia, Missouri, where she graduated in 1950 with a degree in marketing and finance. Scotty was married to Gordon Davidson in 1950. They had 2 children, Steve and Penny. The Davidson family moved to Olive Branch in 1954 and opened the Western Auto Store in the old downtown business district. In 1968, Scotty met Jan Johnson and they became partners in the Mid-South Factory Outlet, a men's clothing store located in the old business district. After 4 years, they built a larger facility south of town on Old Highway 78, where they would stay for 9 years until they again moved, this time into the Mid-South Center on Highway 305, which they built and developed. With Scotty's management skills and Jan's salesmanship, they made the perfect team, and their business became very successful and well known around the Mid-South. They helped put Olive Branch on the map with their rapid-fire TV commercials, which always ending with the two of them looking into the camera and belting out, 10 minutes out Lamar Avenue in Olive Branch, Mississippi. Y'all come! And come they did. Many Memphians knew about Y'all Come long before they knew about Olive Branch. Scotty and Jan helped open the door and pave the way for the tremendous commercial growth that is still being felt in Olive Branch. The two of them forged an eminent Grice political power base in North Mississippi, ensuring that the needs of Olive Branch and DeSoto County were well known and represented in the governing power circles in Jackson. Scotty was a charter member of the DeSoto Economic Council, the Olive Branch Chamber of Commerce, and the Olive Branch Country Club. She served 16 years as a member of the Olive Branch Planning Commission. She served on the Committee of Top 100 Leaders of Mississippi and was a member of the delegation that accompanied Governor Cliff Finch on his economic trade mission to South America. She was one of a select group of Mississippians invited to Norfolk, Virginia for the commissioning of the nuclear-guided missile cruiser, the USS Mississippi, in 1978. Scotty was a member of First Baptist Church of Olive Branch, Mississippi for 20 years, where she was adult superintendent and served on many committees. For 20 years, she was a member of Central Church. She had 2 grandchildren and enjoyed traveling, reading, and church fellowship with friends and family. Scotty Davidson was inducted into the Olive Branch Hall of Fame in 2008. Billy Wood Kerr was born in Olive Branch, Mississippi on March 8, 1933, to Robert H. and May Wood Kerr. He had one younger brother, Robert. Bill's father, who owned Kerr Motors, the first Ford dealership in Olive Branch, died when Bill was 14. Bill was reared and attended grade school and high school in Olive Branch, graduating from Olive Branch High School in 1950. He attended Ole Miss for 4 years, graduating in 1955 with a degree in business. He spent 2 years in the U.S. Army stationed in Aberdeen, Maryland. When Bill returned from the Army, he started Kerr Auto Parts at the corner of Old Highway 78 and Mill Street, which he ran for a number of years. He was later employed by the Bank of Olive Branch, presently Bancorp South, and worked there until 1972 when he left to become president of People's Bank and Trust. He remained there until his retirement in the early 1980s. Bill was elected to the Olive Branch Board of Aldermen for 3 terms in 1965, 1969, and 1973, and served as vice mayor in the administration of Mayor M.C. Harrington. Bill, his brother Robert, and their mother were very active in civic affairs in the city and were highly regarded for their public service and integrity in the community. One example of their commitment to the community was in 1959 when they donated 7 acres of land to Light and Power Corporation, a major industrial business, to entice them to move to Olive Branch, bringing jobs to the community. In 1973, Bill was married to Suzanne Ragsdale. They lived in the Kerr Mansion, formerly the Norvell House, at the corner of Pigeon Roost and Highway 305 until 1983 when they sold it to the Trustmark Bank. Bill would later move to Hot Springs, Arkansas, where he lived out his remaining years until his death on October 28, 1997. Bill had a passion for vintage Ford automobiles, especially the classic 55, 56, and 57 Thunderbirds. He loved to entertain his friends at his home in Hot Springs and on his boats, which he kept on Lake Hamilton. He also enjoyed the horse races and was a member of the Oak Lawn Jockey Club. One of his greatest pleasures was taking his friends to the races. Bill endured some financial reversals and difficulties late in his life, but without exception, those who knew him remember him as one of the kindest, gentlest, and most generous men they ever knew. Billy Wood Kerr was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2008. Benjamin Franklin Wesson was the first mayor of Olive Branch, elected shortly after the city was incorporated in 1873. We have very little information about Ben Wesson beyond what we have been able to obtain from census records. Ben Wesson was born February 19, 1851, to John L. and Rebecca Wesson in Lauderdale County, Alabama, which is in the northwesternmost county in Alabama. Sometime before he was 10 years old and the start of the Civil War in 1861, Ben's father, John Wesson, moved his wife and 9 children to DeSoto County, Mississippi, where he purchased a farm in the Pleasant Hill area west of the town of Olive Branch. We don't know anything else about Ben, and from that time until 1873, when on May 1st, 1873, less than 10 years after the end of the Civil War, the town of Olive Branch was incorporated. At that time, the town's population was around 150. At the age of 22 and single, Benjamin Wesson was elected as the first mayor of Olive Branch. He would serve 4 years until 1877, when he either decided not to run again or was defeated in the election by J.J. Payne. Shortly after leaving office, Ben met and married Elizabeth Payne. Ben and Elizabeth, who was known to everyone as Bet, had 2 daughters, Pearl Wesson Humphreys, who was born in 1884, and Maud Wesson was born in 1886. Sometime around 1875, Ben Wesson opened a general store in the area of Pigeon Roost and Pleasant Hill Roads. An old sales receipt from the store, dated 1882, says the Wesson store sold dry goods, groceries, boots, shoes, hats, caps, clothing, medicines, drugs, hardware, queensware, and general plantation supplies. In 1875, Ben Wesson built his home, now known as the Wesson House, at the intersection of Pigeon Roost and Pleasant Hill, now Goodman Road. In 1880, Ben Wesson was appointed postmaster. He served in that position until 1887, after which time no further record of him can be found. It has been passed down by word of mouth that a dispute arose between Wesson and his neighbor, a Mr. Moody, regarding chickens owned by one of them being in the other's yard, and after a confrontation, Moody shot and killed Wesson at the relatively young age of 35. There is no written record to substantiate this claim. Ben Wesson's home, which we know today as the Wesson House, was passed down from Bet Wesson to her daughters, Pearl and Maud, and then to Pearl's daughter, Martha Pearl, who lived in the house all her life. Before Martha Pearl died in 1987, she asked that her surviving husband, Forrest Red Langston, leave the house to the city of Olive Branch as a museum, which he did upon his death in 1991. In the early 1990s, Ben Wesson's home, the Wesson House, was designated as a dedicated Mississippi landmark. Benjamin Franklin Wesson was inducted into the Hall of Fame in the year 2008. I certainly hope you've enjoyed this second chapter in the Olive Branch Hall of Fame story, a program established to honor and perpetuate the memory of those special men and women whose contribution to this community since the first settlers arrived in 1836 until the present time has had a meaningful impact on the development of Olive Branch, Mississippi, or who have led exemplary lives as member of the community. I'm Sam Reichert. I'm your narrator for this series. Special thanks to Mr. Bill Cruthers for all of the data and the history that he's provided to make this possible. This is an OBTVLive.com presentation. Thanks for watching.